Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 44. Prayena Deva Munaya Svamukti Kama. Prayena Deva Munaya Svamukti Kama. Munam Charanti Vijanine Paratanistaha. Munam Charanti Vijane Paratanistaha. Naitan Vihaya Kripahan Vimumuksha Eko. Naitan Vihaya Kripanan Vimumuksha Eko. Nanyam Tvadasya Saranam Brahmanto Nupase. Nayam Tvadasya Saranam Brahmanto Nupase. Prayena, generally, in almost all cases. Deva, O my Lord. Munayaha, the great saintly persons. Swa, personal, own. Vimuktakamaha, ambitions for liberation from this material world. Monam, silently. Charanti, they wander in places like Himalayan forests where they have no touch with the activities of the materialists. Vijane, in solitary places. Na, not. Para artha nistaha, interested in working for others by giving them the benefit of the Krishna conscious movement, by enlightening them with Krishna consciousness. Na, not. Itan, these. Vihaya, leaving aside. Kripanan, fools and rascals, engaged in materialistic activity, who do not know the benefit of the human form of life. Mimum ukshe, I desire to be liberated and return home back to Godhead. Ekaha, alone. Na, not. Anyam, other. Tvat, but for you. Asya, of this. Sharanam, shelter. Brahmataha, of the living entities rotating and wandering through the material universes. Anupasya, I do see. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. My dear Lord Narasimha, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mona Vrat. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can even go to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, Naivod vijay para duratyaya vaitaryan yaha. O best of the great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of this material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, verse 28. Narayanaya paraha sarve nakut aschana bibyati svarga apavarga narakesh vapi tulyatha darshanaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by karmis and jnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish, materialistic activity. A Vaishnav like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness, because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaj clearly says, Nanyam tvat asya saranam brahmato nupasye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within this universe life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home, back to Godhead. That is the real target of life. The members of the Krishna conscious movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation. Nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna conscious movement is interested in going door to door to try to achieve people, to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad-Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna conscious movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskacha Desatarne Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madhurayat. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitaman pavnebhyo vaishnavyebho namo namaha. This section of Srimad Bhagavatam is very important. Amongst the community of pure devotees, Narayana Parayana, completely surrendered to Krishna. In the community of these devotees, Sri Prahlad Maharaj is considered to be the devotee's devotee. Most living entities have a relatively easy time to be Krishna's devotee. Okay, we may upset our parents. They want us to have a career. They want us to be secure in old age. We may surprise some of our family members, our friends, by our attachment to Krishna. But Prahlad, he had to undergo so many tribulations in order to become a devotee. He is considered the devotee's devotee. Prahlad Maharaj's mood is lamentation. He has lamentation. This is the quality, Srila Prabhupada said, of a very high-class devotee. He has lamentation. Narad Muni, Lord Chaitanya, the 6 Goswamis, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, the entire Krishna conscious ISKCON movement is founded on this principle of lamentation. Lamentation means passionate grief, deep regret. This is lamentation. Everyone laments. Practically everyone laments. There is things that we wish we hadn't done, things that we wish we had done differently. The situation today is not always as we hoped it might be when we were planning sometime in the past. So lamentation, this feeling bad about things, this is very normal. It's a normal part of material life. It's a very normal part of being in material consciousness. We have lamentation. In the Bhagavad-Gita, end of chapter 1, the start of chapter 2, Arjuna says, "My mind is filled with grief." He's looking at his cousins, his relatives, his teachers. He cannot contemplate what he must do. He sits down. He throws his bow aside. He said, "I would rather be a beggar than to fight with my kinspeople." Arjuna's a Kshatriya. He's a king. They inherited a kingdom. His father was a great man. A beggar? This is not a good position in life. You see the beggars outside. They're cold now. Each of them take a position where the sun will heat them for some time so that they can start to beg. It's definitely not a top profession to be a beggar. But Arjuna says here, "I would rather be a beggar, all sincerity, than to fight my kinspeople." He said, "I can find no way out of my grief. I will not fight." Krishna is listening to him. He smiles and says, "Asocyan and Visocyamscha Tvam." He said, "You are mourning for what is not worthy of grief." Why has this lamentation come upon you? This is Bhagavad-Gita 2:11. Krishna uses the word anvisocchaha, which means, Prabhupada has translated as lamentation. So lamentation, it's all pervasive. It's usual, it's common. Each of us has lamentation. Material life is full of lamentation. Material consciousness is full of lamentation. But Prahlad Maharaj, in this section of Bhagavatam, in the previous verse, 7:9:43, he says, "Shoche tato vimukta chetasa indriyartha." He said, "I am simply lamenting for the fools and rascals who are engaged, completely entangled in sense gratification." Vimukha means fools and rascals. Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 3, verse 20. Krishna says, "Sarva jnana vimuda," perfectly fooled. So a vimuda is perfectly entangled within material consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj says, "My lamentation is for these people." Prahlad Maharaj didn't have an easy childhood. He's a little boy, little schoolboy. We can understand how necessary it is to protect our children, to give them a nice environment where they feel valued, where they feel validated, where they can grow into nice citizens, into nice Krishna-conscious persons. We fully understand this. Prahlad, he wasn't validated, he wasn't encouraged. He was abused in so many ways. His own father tried to kill him so many times, in so many ways. Prahlad has definitely so much to complain about by his caretakers, by the way he was treated. He wasn't valued, he wasn't encouraged. His father tried to kill him. You imagine if this was the trauma that we went through? The difficulty we would have, the lack of trust, the lack of applying ourselves, lack of self-esteem, we're worth nothing, we should be killed. But Prahlad has none of this. He has lamentation like everyone else, like Arjun, like all of us. He has lamentation. But his lamentation is for the vimuda, for the fools and rascals who are wallowing in material existence. This is why Prahlad Maharaj is so exceptional. This is why this section of Bhagavatam, the previous verse and this verse, this is why Srila Prabhupada continually referred to it, continually quoted it. Prabhupada refers to these verses over 100 times in his various books, in his talks, in his lectures, in his conversations, continually alluding to Prahlad Maharaj and this sochi, this lamentation that he has. Narad Muni, through Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Balaram ki jai. The entire ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada wants to take up this mood of lamentation for the fallen souls. The medicine, the antidote for this lamentation is transcendental knowledge. Srila Prabhupada gave us his translations in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, the Bhakti-Vedanta books from the Bhakti-Vedanta Book Trust. Books are most certainly the basis for compassion, compassion on the fallen souls who are squandering in eternal birth and death. We can say eternal, being conditioned from the beginning of time and will be conditioned for the foreseeable future. It was Albert Einstein who said, "It is foolishness to think we can arrive at a solution by doing the same thing again and again and again, which has failed so many times before." So the conditioned living entity is doing the same thing again and again and again, and hoping against hope that somehow or other he will become liberated from this quagmire, from this swamp of material existence. Prahlad Maharaj knows he has nothing to do with this material world. Srila Prabhupada was very much of this mood. I remember one time here in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada said, he said, "I have nothing to gain and I have nothing to lose because I don't belong here." So this illusion of thinking we belong here, this illusion of thinking we can be happy here. At the second to last line of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the members of the Krishna conscious movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. So the materialistic person, he's making plans to be happy without this surrender to Krishna. Devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, devotees like Srila Prabhupada know this is absolutely impossible. In the verse, it refers to the many saintly persons who go to the Himalayas. Prahlad Maharaj, in the previous verse, verse 43, he says, Naidvod Vijay Pada Diratyaya Virantaryaha. This Prabhupada quotes in the first purport, the first paragraph of the purport to this verse. Prahlad is saying, I have no fear for the insurmountable Vaitaryani river. The Vaitaryani is the Ganga. In the Mahabharata, Ashvamedika Parva, chapter 170, verses 21 and 22, it describes that the Ganga is called the Alaknand in the heavenly planets. It's called the Ganga here on earth, and it's called the Vaitrani in Pitarlok, in the place of the forefathers. As we know, Vamanadev, he was granted 3 steps by Bali Maharaj. With the second step, his toe of his left foot pierced the covering of the universe. The causal ocean came in, and this is the origin of the Ganga. The Ganga was in the heavenly planets for a long time, long time. In the Mahabharata, Adi Parva, chapter 96 and 97, it describes how King Bhagarata had a guru called Sagar. Sagar, he had many wives from his many children from his second wife. There was an incident in which a sacrificial horse was stolen by Indra. It was tied near Kapila Dev, who was in Tapasya. The sons of Sagara, they wrongly assumed that Kapila Muni had stolen the horse. They were voicing complaint to him, disturbing him in his tapasya. So he burned them all to ashes, the sons of Sagara. The sage Sagara, he asked his wife that she should take care of the funeral rites. The wife, she asked Bhagarata if he would do this. So, thinking how he would purify the situation, how he would do the funeral rites, he decided to do very austere penance for a very long time, thinking of Ganga Devi. Eventually, Ganga Devi, she gave him a boon. She said, "What would you like?" He said, "I would like for you to come here to earth and to go on and to do the funeral rites of the sons of Sagara who have been reduced to ashes." Ganga Devi said, if my flow falls on earth, it will break the earth, crush the earth. So Bhagirata, he went off again to do very, very extreme penance for a long time to propitiate Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave a boon, and he asked, could he catch the Ganga in his head with his hair so that she would not crush the earth. So the Ganga flowed from the upper worlds, where she is known as the Alaknand. She came down to this earth, she came down to Shiva's head. She was going around for a long time in the matted head of Shiva, and Shiva flicked his head. A drop of water fell upon the Himalayas, and this is the source of the Ganga. This is how the Ganga started here. At Gangotri, the river Ganga is still called the Bhagirata. This is the name for the river there. The Bhagirata flows for 200 kilometers till it comes to Devprayag. Prayag means a confluence. It means when two rivers are joining. There are so many Prayags in the Himalayas. Devprayag, where the Ganges joins the Alaknand. There's Rudraprayag, Karnaprayag, so many Prayags. And of course, what we say as Prayag, without any other description, is where the Jamuna joins to the Ganga in Allahabad. But the Bhagirati flows to Devprayag for 200 kilometers, the next 70 kilometers, and so on all the way down to the ocean, down to Gangasagar in the Bay of Bengal, is called the Ganga. So for 70 kilometers it flows to Rishikesh and Haridwar, and then it's the Ganga. In Mahabharata, the Vanaparva, chapter 85, verse 6, says the Ganga purifies our sins. In the Devi Bhagavata, the 8th skanda, it says even thinking of having a bath in the Ganga, even contemplating it, even if this is our intention, it said this is equal to performing an Asvamedha as well as a Rajasuya sacrifice. It is so purifying. The Mahabharata, Anusya Parva, chapter 26 says several things. It says a sinful person, by worshipping the Ganga, they can go to the heavenly planets. It also said if a person accidentally falls in the Ganga, just by being submerged, just by falling in, without having that intention, it said this is equal to 100 years of serious austerity for the purpose of purification. It says there also, in Anusya Parva, the same chapter 26, that if the breeze coming from the Ganga flows through the Himalayas so quickly, the water is still cold. Even in Rishikesh, even in Haridwar, it's very, very cold. It's almost like molten ice. So because it's flowing down, there is a very nice cooling breeze that comes from the Ganga. It said even this breeze removes our sinful reactions. This is how powerful the Ganga is, and this is how it is such a wonderful facility for people intent on spiritual life, the waters of the Ganga. The saintly persons mentioned in this verse, they're only concerned with their own advancement. This is very, very common. It's most of the people engaged in spiritual life, they're only doing it for their own advancement. Padma Lochan, who's no longer with us, who wrote the first guide to Vrindavan, Dinubandhu Prabhu, acknowledges, he said, Padmalochan Prabhu, he is my Tirtha Guru. He was going to so many places. One time he told me he went to the Kumbh Mela. There in the Kumbh Mela was a Ram Baba, a Tyagi. Previously he had been a high court judge. He had been a high court judge, making many judgments, ruling things very nicely, giving very just decisions. At some point, he gave up everything. He left his wife in care of his sons, and he went off to be a Tyagi Baba. He would only wear underwear. He would cover himself in ash. He was a clever man, highly educated. He was a high court judge. He had 6 ashrams. He founded 6 ashrams where people would stay. He would feed the widows and so many things. But he himself never slept one night in any of the ashrams he created. Every night he slept under a different tree. So you can imagine the respect, the reverence that everybody would come to his camp and pay respects to him. One Canadian person, he came and he prostrated before him. He gave everything he had. He gave his traveler's checks, he gave his sleeping bag, he kept one chadar. He gave everything. So they took it, they put it in a trunk. So he was there for 3 days. After 3 days, he said, I want to become your disciple. I want initiation. The Tyagi Baba said, you will have great difficulty to find a spiritual teacher, someone to take you as a disciple. He said, you can find so many people who will cheat you, who will take your traveler's checks, take your goods. So many people will cheat you. But to find someone genuine, who will take responsibility for you. You are coming from a very fallen condition. He said, someone to take responsibility. He said, this is very difficult. Because most sadhus are intent on their own purification, their own advancement. They don't want to do anything which will impede, anything which will impact upon this. They don't want to take the responsibility for the nonsense of a fallen disciple. The young person, the Canadian, he was bereft. He said, you won't find anyone who will take you as a disciple. No one. No one will take the risk. But if you're serious about spiritual life, he said, there is a very kind and compassionate sadhu in Vrindavan. He is taking the karma of the foreign people because he is so compassionate. He said, you go to him and he will teach you how to become a devotee of Krishna. He was referring, of course, to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was unique in that he took people like me and tolerated, gave us a structure, gave us sadhana bhakti, so that in time, if we are sincere, slowly we can cultivate a taste for serving Krishna. Vaishnavas are said to be in 2 categories. There's the Bhajananandi and the Gosjanandi. The Bhajananandi, like the saintly persons, Prahlad Maharaj is not criticized, he's calling them saintly persons. The Bhajananandi, like the saintly persons, wandering the Himalayas, bathing in the Ganga, regularly having their purification. The Bhajananandi, they're only concerned with their own spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada this same verse, text 44, Prabhupada spoke on this in Calcutta, 1976, on March 26th. In this talk in the Calcutta temple, he said, Gosti Ananda, preaching for the benefit of the whole of human society, is preferred by Krishna. He went on to say, if you want very quick recognition by Krishna, go on preaching. Even if it is imperfectly done, because you are sincere in whatever capacity you have, if you preach, then Krishna will be very much pleased. One time, Srila Prabhupada arrived here in Vrindavan. His secretary at the time was Tamal Krishna Maharaj. They asked me to come in to do things in Srila Prabhupada's house, and particularly I would fan Srila Prabhupada. It was the hot season, there was many flies. I would fan Srila Prabhupada. I remember one time, Srila Prabhupada was sitting here about to give class, and there was some flies. And one devotee, he took the chamara and he was twirling the chamara, making very nice circles. And the fly was bothering Prabhupada. And he looked, and the person, he didn't see the fly, he didn't see Prabhupada. He had been practicing. He was making these very beautiful circles, he was twirling. It was very elegant, very artistic. He was twirling. And Prabhupada, this fly kept landing on his spectacle and his face. And Prabhupada said, flick the fly. It's the tail of the cow. He flicks. You see him flicking. And Prabhupada told him, flick. This. And he didn't know how to do this, how to incorporate this within his twirls, So he and Prabhupada took it, and he said, like this. He showed him, you do like this. And he gave it back to him. And it's flicked. So he was flicking them. What it's for. So I was fanning Srila Prabhupada, aware that the purpose was to chase the flies. And Tamal Krishna, he said to Srila Prabhupada, he said, Srila Prabhupada, he said, the best devotee here in Vrindavan, he says, is Vishal Prabhu. He said, because every day he is selling your books. Vishal would always. He has had a very, I think, 45, 50 years selling Srila Prabhupada's books. And we have wonderful devotees here, especially now it's Gita Jayanti, especially now it's the marathon, it's Christmas time. But we have wonderful devotees here who have this mood of shoche, lamentation, compassion for the suffering of the people, to give them one of Srila Prabhupada's books. Radhakund Mataji, for years she has been doing this. Deva Shakti, Saranga Thakur Prabhu, organizing the BBT, going out on the traveling parties. This is the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. This is the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of the 6 Goswamis, the writings of Bhaktivinoda, the various mutts, the 60 ashrams, temples that Bhaktisiddhanta, the 108 temples that Srila Prabhupada made all over the world, the 500 temples we have today in the ISKCON movement. This is the purpose, the entire purpose is to have this lamentation, to cultivate this lamentation for the fallen souls. This is why we have so many activities in ISKCON. This is why we have the restaurants to give them prasadam, give them a taste for prasadam. This is why we have the street festivals, the harinams, why we have the temples so people can come, so they can see the deity, so they can become enthused. This is why we have the life membership program. Each and every aspect of what devotees engage in today, the schools, the goshalas, each and every aspect of what devotees engage in today in this temple and in every temple around the world, every community of devotees, was personally inspired and instructed and set up by Srila Prabhupada. Everything we have here, our entire morning program, our entire engagement, and the mood of Srila Prabhupada is this mood of Prahlad Maharaj. This lamentation, not for his own situation. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport here, the devotee, he doesn't care if he's in heaven. He doesn't care if he's in hell, because he's always with Krishna in the spiritual world. And each of us, this being with Krishna in the spiritual world, it's only a question of time. I have mentioned before, I've seen 4 letters that Srila Prabhupada personally sent to devotees. He said, if you follow the regulative principles, if you chant 16 rounds, he said, you will see Krishna face to face, and this is guaranteed. I was just reading on the internet the other day, there's a blog on Srila Prabhupada's teachings, people give memories and so on. One devotee was saying, Srila Prabhupada, the devotees are saying that you are not here, you just come and visit sometimes. How can they develop a deep relationship with you? Prabhupada said, what do you tell them? He said, Prabhupada, I tell them you've invested so much time, so much energy into your books, that they will give the guidance and so on. And Prabhupada, he said, cut in. He said, are they chanting their rounds? He said, if they're not chanting their rounds, how can they begin to have a deep relationship with a spiritual master? So each and every aspect of our program, each and every aspect of our day, each activity has been intentionally set up, developed, cultivated by Srila Prabhupada so that we can cultivate this mood of Prahlad Maharaj, this lamentation. As I said, Prabhupada continually, over 100 times, Prabhupada is referring to this verse and the verse before. The common man may do prayaschita. He may have atonement for his sins. For example, he may bathe in the Ganga to be completely purified. But like the elephant who bathes and then rolls in the dust and again becomes dusty, the common man, after he may perform some measure of atonement, but again he does the same thing again. Again he's sinful. What is sin? What is pap? Pap, sin, is simply continuing in material consciousness. Because material consciousness means that I am convinced that I am the enjoyer, that I can make some arrangement of the material elements in which I can be happy. Srila Prabhupada said on one occasion, he said, you can try for 1,000,000 years, you will never be happy in the material world. So this consciousness that I can be happy through my work, through my money, through my family, through my friends, through my society, through my community, through my country, this consciousness that we can have happiness through this is causing us to do so many things which again are sinful. We are intruding upon others, we are exploiting others, all for this illusory happiness. So the common man, he may do prayaschita, he may go to Haridwar and bathe in the Ganga, but immediately after he's rolling in the dust again continuing in material consciousness. The Bhajananandi, the Vaishnava, who's concerned with his own development, the saintly persons referred to by Prahlad Maharaj, all those years ago, right up to today, there's so many saintly persons in the Himalayas, there for their own benefit, for their own development. But Srila Prabhupada, in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, always quoting, always referring to this section to convince people of this, his mood was that we should preach to the whole world that we shouldn't be in solitary places. We should be in a busy place. Vrindavan has become very busy now. This is good. More and more people are coming. We have so many temples in Delhi, so many temples all around the world. I think 85 temples now in India. They're all in busy places, not in solitary places, because in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, we are extending ourselves, extending the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And the best way that we can do this, the most effective way that we can do this, is to give the conditioned soul some transcendental knowledge about actually what is his position, to reveal to him and to describe to him what is his position. The most efficient, effective way is to give one of Srila Prabhupada's books. So Srila Prabhupada was most enthused by the devotees, most grateful to the devotees who were distributing his books. This is the highest service. Those of you who are members of the ashram here, make some effort during this period and during the years ahead to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. This is most pleasing to Prabhupada. And you people here who are only visiting, who don't live in the ashram, who haven't made this commitment, you help to sponsor some books. Give some donation, so they can give books. We're giving books to prisons, to schools, to factory members. Everyone is suffering in material life because they are lamenting for their own situation. Srila Prabhupada said, in 1,000,000 years, you're still going to be suffering. The spirit soul living within this material world, it's an incompatible situation. It's not going to work. It's not designed to work. Vishwanath Chakravarti explains in his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam that the entire purpose of the material world is so that the foolish jiva can return back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada has made this very easy, very efficient by establishing the Hare Krishna movement. ISKCON has wonderful facilities in which we can take shelter, we can apply ourselves, purify ourselves, cultivate this mood of lamentation, the shoche, lamentation of Prahlad Maharaj, and help the suffering jiva who's eternally, we can say eternally, on the wheel of samsara. Srila Prabhupada went on the Jaladuta to America. He had nothing. We can say he had nothing. It costs more money now for a cinema ticket than Srila Prabhupada, the money he had in his pocket. He had nothing. He had nowhere to go. He had no friends, nowhere to stay for his preaching. He had an address to go to, but nowhere to stay for his preaching in New York. He had no one sponsoring him, not government, not an organization. He had no book contract, some publishers to publish his book. He really went with nothing. And my understanding of this, he did this with nothing in any way to demonstrate to us that we can spread Krishna consciousness simply by having the desire to do so. And the root of this desire is the acknowledgement, the pain, the lamentation that there are people in this material world who are suffering because they are laboring under such a false concept that they can be happy in this material world without Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. All glories to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.